Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Health Discourse with Sakshi and Sushant. So, good morning, Sushant. How are you doing?
Good morning, very well.
So, on this today is World Obesity Day, and this day is marked as a day of awareness for all those suffering from issues like obesity. And since obesity has become a very massive epidemic across the world, the reason I'm using the word massive is because you will actually find three out of every six people they are either obese or they have some or the other weight related issues, and they are going on, they are for real. It is not only the data which is saying that, it is actually the number of people who come to us and the kind of experiences we have had with our customers. So based on that data, I can surely say that this is the kind of issues that people are facing today. So Sushant, today let us begin this talk with my first question. And we all of us know that why obesity is there, right? Because lot of influencers, they have some different assumptions. Lot of healthcare practitioners, they have some different assumptions about obesity, right? So I think today it's time to break all of these myths, and let us begin by understanding how it occurs, because everybody actually knows it occurs because of bad food choices, processed foods, blah blah blah. These are very generic in nature, right? But let us focus on the molecular biology of an individual, that how inside the body the obesity begins to happen.
Okay, so let us go back around 5 decades back and understand the why we have obesity and its connection with type 2 diabetes and cardiovascular disease as well, right? So if you see in pre-1980 eras, our parents and grandfather were there, so our grandparents never had obesity, and they never had this concept of calorie in, calorie out, or high protein diets and carbohydrates, blah blah blah, right? Because you know, again, to understand obesity, it is every disease is linked to chronic inflammation, right? And a lot of chronic inflammation is done by your microbes in your gut and your mouth, because 99% genes expressed in your body are microbial, right? So uh, essentially, you have to think, when we were pre-1980 eras, the food which we used to eat were full of fiber and polyphenols, right? Polyphenol, resveratrol, a lot of antioxidants, right? And all of these foods were actually not easily digested by in our small intestine, right? And it was a food for your microbes in your gut, right? And these microbes used to eat these foods and synthesize them into short chain fatty acids such as bitrate, acetate, and propionate. And acetate is something which secretes the GLP-1 hormone. And GLP-1 hormone, uh, we know it is linked to satiety. It uh, communicates with you know uh, with our pancreas to regulate blood sugar response, with our brain to tell us that we are full, we don't need much of foods, and how it this is how it regulates the satiety and the appetite and the metabolism of our metabolism and appetite, right? And with course of time, with an inclination towards, I'll say, food corporatization, because of globalization, privatization, there's a lot of high demand for foods. A lot of people have moved to urban areas. The agriculture area has been cut down. We had discussed this earlier also, right? So the availability of food has gone down, and it has been replaced by, corporatization of food industry, where we replace all these fibers and polyphenols to increase the shelf life of foods, to put a lot of these artificial things, sweeteners, chemicals, sugar, right? Which has disturbed our gut microbiome, right? And it is one of the reasons why we gain weight, why we are obese, right? So that's the basic of uh, why we have started developing obesity. So there are certain, these GLP-1 hormone is something which is secreted by gut microbiome, right? And every time you eat fiber, every time You take a lot of polyphenols, right? The viability of it in small intestine of these foods are very less. So probably these food substances are very less. So basically it goes to your gut, and it most of these microbes actually sense these foods, express a particular gene which produces short chain fatty acids, which helps with secrete GLP-1, right? That's a basic thing. Now, because of all these wrong dietary choices, and not even only because of our own fault, but also because of corporatization of food, we are actually dealing with these issues, right? But here it is important to understand it is weight gain obesity is not about calorie in, calorie out the way we think it. Obviously, it is about energy metabolism, but there are various regulatory pathways which does impact your energy metabolism, which makes sure that you're not eating, your satiety is up, your blood sugar responses are good, are not eating in excess, right? It is not something which you can say, oh, I'll not eat this much. This is the calorie quantity, I'll eat this much only. No, it is your body gives signals, that you need more food or not. So there are certain pathways. GLP-1, I told you once, bite rate production is something which tells, right? And even it starts from your mouth, right? So the microbes in the mouth not only pre-digest the food, also send signals to pancreas that something, whatever coming their way, to probably start releasing insulin. So there's a lot of biochemical signals and metabolites being produced inside the body via these microbiome, right? Similarly, gut-brain axis, we all know it is connected through vagus nerve, right? So gut does impact the secretion of certain hunger responses such as ghrelin, leptin, peptide, right? Which impacts our satiety and impacts our hunger responses, right? So if you are not eating a lot of this fiber, a lot of these polyphenols or food which are compatible with your biology, right? So it could make certain microbes over your gut microbiome, and they would uh, make you crave for food which you should not be craving for, right? So essentially, you're feeding them. Then, if your microbiome is less diverse, right, and doesn't have the right set of enzyme, so it would further stimulate your hunger, right? So these are certain pathways which has to be considered, right? Brain leptin, we all know your gut microbiome impacts your brain leptin production. It impacts your directly secretes your GLP-1, PIY, right? Then when we talk of low-grade chronic inflammation, right? It is outcome of, suppose whatever you're eating, right? So these microbes actually sense the food substrate and molecule, and then express a particular gene, right? Which leads to production of certain pro-inflammatory byproducts such as lipopolysaccharides and TMAO, and a lot of these harmful things which gets into your bloodstream and stimulate inflammatory responses. Right? This, in simple words, this leads to less fat exports and huge fat storage. Right? So LPS specifically, if you have a leaky gut, it can penetrate down to different body organs and tissues. It can lead to adiposity. It can impact your heart. It can impact your pancreas. So that's how why when you have obesity, you develop heart disease, you develop type 2 diabetes, right? And again, it is also linked to, a lot of people do not know that insulin resistance is also linked to your dementia, right? So again, dementia is called type 3 diabetes, right? So essentially, we don't have to, obviously, it is about energy metabolism, but it is not something you should force yourself, oh, I'll not eat this much, I'll count this much, I'll eat a lot of protein, I'll not eat carbs. It's all our bad assumptions around it, right? Which should not be. So your metabolism is driven by secretion of certain hormones, and your microbes either directly produce hormones, or even tell glands how much or how little of each hormone should be produced, right? So your microbiome holds key to various your hormonal imbalances or hormonal metabolism, right? And also again, it is linked to your satiety, your hunger responses, your hunger pangs, right? Uh, so again, eating sugar anyways is bad. Not only so, I would, people would say, okay, eat 1 gram, 2 gram of sugar, 3 gram of sugar, 5 gram sugar, doesn't matter, eat less of sugar. But what happens is when you eat sugar, it is converted by your oral microbiome into lactic acid, right? And it changes the pH level of your mouth, which leads to growth of certain pathogen, and they start doing inflammatory responses. So again, you know, so these external things are entirely bad, and even the packaged foods have vegetable oil, have artificial sweeteners, have chemicals, have emulsifiers, have food preservatives, right? Which are really, really harmful, right? So essentially, to understand the causes for obesity, you have to understand your biology. You don't have to be adopt a reductionist biology approach where you consider each part of your body as a separate piece of puzzle, right? It is a system biology, everything is connected, right? So probably we'll discuss more on this about how the interconnection impacts how people with obesity have as for chronic kidney disease, type 2 diabetes, and cardiovascular disease as well. Yeah.
So my next question is that since you said that because of reduction of these polyphenols and fibers from the food in order to increase the shelf life, so this actually means that the nutrient value of the foods that today we are eating, it has reduced significantly. That you, I mean, industrialization has impacted the quality of food that much. I mean, whatever they say that they have added fortified vitamin D in the milk and whatever they claim, the food companies they are claiming on their packages, is it actually true, or is it going to benefit us in some way, or is it just a way of marketing?
So there are three roads which leads to obesity here, or which leads to various chronic disease. One is obviously the popularization of food, as I already mentioned. So it removes all these fiber and polyphenols and beneficial nutrients, right? Which anyways, what we are eating, we are not eating that. So we are eating a lot of bad things, which is stimulating the production of harmful metabolites or pro-inflammatory metabolites. Second thing is because of the high demand for food, say is the crop cycle have dysregulated. So we have put a lot of fertilizers and herbicides and a lot of these things in the crop, which is kill a lot of microbes in soil. So again, if you see the bioavailability of magnesium, selenium, and zinc have gone down everywhere, right? So you anyways do not have all these things. So this is again a bigger problem, which is not a part of our discussion right now, right? But third thing is how your body metabolizes each of these substrates in various foods, right? So food is not only about protein, carbs, and fats, right? There are multiple molecules inside the food, how each of the molecule interact with your enzymes, with your microbes in your mouth, with microbes in your gut is really, really impacts, right? And enzymes, your small intestine, how it is metabolized. Right? So there are multiple things, come into picture here, right? So it is a combination of a lot of these things. So things which are in our control is having whole foods, consuming, understanding our biology, understanding how our microbes will interact with each of these molecules, what molecule we should eat more of, what we should eat less of, right? What we should not eat, right? So these are multiple things, right? This is one angle to it, right? Another angle which I see is a bigger problem here is, you know, the again the approach of uh, pharmaceutical approach to curb obesity, right? Which
I
is
was just
which
coming to that question only. So we can see, I think we had a discussion previously. I remember about GLP-1 drug becoming very popular for obesity, and you also told us that how it can impact an individual's biology, right?
Hmm.
Now, again, the thing is that there has been a lot of promotions coming up that GLP drug is the future of type 2
Hmm.
diabetes, obesity, blah, blah, blah. Now,
Hmm.
I just want to understand, and I think I have read one or two research papers which actually says that it may cause cancer in some individuals. Is it true?
So let us first discuss about, so when we talk of obesity, right? If we are obese, we need to understand, for instance, if someone is saying, need to take GLP-1 drug, for you to understand why GLP-1, which is naturally produced inside our body, is not being produced, right? So there are multiple reasons to it, right? Uh, First thing is obviously, I'll get a bit technical here, but I'll explain in a very simple way. So, uh, protein, right? When we eat protein, protein is required for various cellular processes, right? But there's a limit to consumption, so we should make sure that protein is something which should be directly metabolized in your small intestine, right? Which is your lower gut. Your microbe doesn't know what protein is. They start fermenting protein and releasing a lot of harmful metabolites, which have various health implications. So one of those Rather, two of those is precresol, which is a byproduct of tyrosine. Tyrosine again is an amino acid which we get from various food. If you consume too much of protein, you consume too much of tyrosine, your microbes convert into precresol. Now, precresol is set to suppress GLP-1 production, right? Uh, One way to look at it, right? So so one of the reason is you don't have GLP, probably you're taking too much of protein, too much of tyrosines to be very specific, right? And also, it is also said that, picresol is also involved in suppression of nitric oxide synthase, which is actually required, which plays a key role in production of nitric oxide, which has a vasodilation effect, which regulates your blood flow, which regulate your, blood pressure. People who have obesity or type 2 diabetes have a slow separation of nitric oxide, right? NOS enzyme, and it is also because of LPS I mentioned earlier of the gut microbiome. So LPS lead to overexpression of TNF alpha, which suppresses your nitric oxide production. Again, that is linked to somewhere precresol, because precresol and doxyl sulfate. Again, doxyl sulfate is another byproduct of microbes eating up tryptophan and consuming doxyl sulfate, which is a toxin. These two metabolites are involved in chronic kidney disease. Also, it causes oxidosis. Oxidosis causes nitric oxide dysfunction, and ENOS suppression. Again, it is linked to obesity, right? So,
Sushant,
so
I may have a question here.
yeah.
Now, since you said that picresol and indoxyl sulfate, like now, let's say a person has a problem of GLP-1 production, right, due
Hmm.
to these pathways or whatever. Now,
Hmm.
if he is taking these GLP-1 medications, then what is going to happen likely? Because it is going to give
So
the body signal that GLP-1
I-
is
I'm
there.
I'm coming to that, right?
Yeah.
So what happens is that, so first of all, you have to understand that what causes GLP-1 degradation. I told you one reason of precresol, one reason of nitric oxide, right? Third
Yes,
reason is there's
yes.
certain bacteria and some bacteria in our gut, which is called Enterococcus faecalis. It can express a particular protein which can degrade GLP-1. So that is another reason to it. Then, post so the methylation of post-translation methylation of L-arginine residue, right? Again, nitric oxide is produced when we combine L-arginine and oxygen inside our body, which converts into acetyl nitric oxide. Again, it is a semi-essential amino acid. You don't need to consume too much of it. When you consume too much of it, it may lead to production of superoxide, which is again cause oxidative stress. Again, which suppresses your nerve function, and its oxidative is also linked to type 2 diabetes and obesity, right? So this is another reason. Then the methylation of L-arginine residue leads to a production of ADMA, separated dimethyl arginine, right, which is again suppresses your NOS. Again, it is linked to obesity and type 2 diabetes, right? So these are few pathways. If you're taking GLP-1 drug, right, so it is synthetically creating GLP-1 inside your body, right? So if either of these pathways are not regulated, the again would be suppressed, right? First thing. Okay, so if you have Enterococcus faecalis active expressing gene, it will suppress GLP-1 anyways, right? GLP-1 production, right? Uh, these are so this is something which you need to understand. Second thing is, even the effectiveness of GLP-1 depends upon the function of certain gut bacteria, certain gut microbes, right? So it's like the food is metabolized by gut microbiome, the drug is also metabolized by gut microbiome, right? So it is not only about taking GLP drug assuming it is going to work, right? It is not necessarily it will work, right? So you need to first understand why there's a degradation of GLP-1 in your body, right? What is the specific reason, right? And rather than taking GLP-1 drug, which is again something which you have to take endlessly, right? Because there is a research, when you withdraw this, you will start gaining weight again, right? So it's a reductionist biology approach, right? So you have to first understand, why here there's a degradation. Probably if you can take GLP-1, you see the evaluate its effectiveness by studying your gut microbiome. Also, make changes in your biology so that your body restarts producing GLP-1, right? So it is, there are multiple things here, so you have to look at multiple pathways here which causes obesity, whether it's oxidative, whether it's low grade chronic inflammation, whether it is suppression of amino acids, whether it's over expression of ADMA, right? So there are multiple things you have to look at, right? When you talk of GLP-1 drug, right? Uh, so this is something which you have to understand. First thing is, uh, the packaged foods is completely making mess of our biology, right? You need to consume a lot of whole food, which is high in fiber and polyphenols and a lot of antioxidants, which feeds your microbiome, which can make your microbiome actually produce short-chain fatty acids, which secretes GLP-1. Similarly, uh, olive oil or oleic acid, which actually stimulates the production of GLP-1 through release of oleoylserinol, which is again a metabolite released by the gut microbiome, right? So these are few things. Second thing is, even if you're taking GLP-1, you have to first understand why there's a degradation of GLP-1 inside my body, right? Whether GLP-1 would be effective or not, depending upon my profile of gut microbiome, my activities or downstream functions performed by the gut microbiome, right? Otherwise, there's no use of taking, right? Second thing is, if you don't fix your biology, right? You anyways, because you cannot take this drug for life, right? So you anyways would regain weight, and there are multiple side effects. Probably we'll discuss that now about what kind of side effects. Like you had one
Yeah,
question on
so
side
I
effects.
think let us talk about what are the side effects of the taking these drugs. And you have already mentioned that if you stop this drug, so you will again put on weight, right? Now, so I think rather than any individual, no one wants to be dependent on a drug for all their life. I mean, the sad truth is people want to have supplements. I do know that, but I
Mm.
think nobody who's going through diabetes or obesity, they don't want to pop up pills. They want a permanent solution for their problems, right? So let us focus on what are the adverse impacts of this drug on their bodies.
Okay, so you have to first understand GLP-1 drug or PPIY or whatever these uh, obesity suppression drugs are, right? Diabetes suppression drugs are. They actually target enzymes in various tissues, right? So, so obviously it is like understand so how it works is when your GLP-1 is produced, there is an GLP-1 receptor inside the brain. So consider this as an brake, right? And GLP-1 as your leg to suppress that brake, right? So, so, so essentially, there are a lot of receptors. So when it is produced, when it is done artificially by different drugs, right, it actually slows down your digestive tract and it leads to constipation, diarrhea, and a lot of digestive issues, right? One thing I mentioned about the regaining of weight, probably I will share all. So these are all our clinically researched things, which I would share all the research papers around it, right? And third thing is, it also leads to loss of healthy muscle mass, right? Uh, Fourth, an important thing, and which is most important, right? And there are studies, there are claims, but FDA in US has mentioned that in a particular research. Again, I will share that there's some research that found that it leads to inflammation of pancreas, right? So it leads to pancreatic duct replication, which can obstruct the release of pancreatic enzymes, which if you're taking GLP-1 for a longer period of time, right, there are a high risk of developing pancreatic cancer. Again, there are a lot of discussions around it. There are a lot of claims. Some pharmaceutical companies say, "Oh, this is people who have obesity and diabetes would have pancreatic cancer." Yeah, it is right. It would have, but research has shown that it may amplify the effect if you are taking. So inflammation of pancreas can happen. That is side effect. But if you're taking this for a longer period of time, it increases your risk of pancreatic cancer, right? So this is something which is there are a lot of research on it. And this is a research which happened in 2010, right? We're talking about GLP. So it's a way back discussion was going on the GLP-1 drugs, right? Earlier also because of obesity, right? So these are the side effects which it had, right? So GLP-1 drugs as such, is something which you have to understand your biology. The focus has to be on fixing your biology first, right? If you are having a high HbA1c level, probably you're having you're not able to lose weight in spite of whatever you're following, right? Uh, Whether you're taking high protein diets or calorie deficit or going to gym or whatever you're doing, right? If you're not able to lose weight, probably there's some dysregulation in certain pathways. You have to first understand which pathway it is, what pathway is triggering, what pathway is not triggering GLP-1 production, what pathway is impacting your brain leptin levels, right? How your gut brain, what is happening within gut brain communication, right? Whether it is a, it there's a breakdown in the communication because of inflammatory things. Whether there's a high overactivation HPA axis, which is causing stress, which is causing fight and flight response, which is stopping all the non-essential functions at the body. So there are multiple things you have to understand. So you have to fix your biology. Although you may start taking GLP-1 drugs for a shorter period of time, right? Just to mask the problem, but until unless you fix your biology and try to find out what is causing my GLP-1 degradation, how I can actually bring it back to normal, rebalance state, right? That is what is more important, right? Otherwise, you would deal with multiple side effects, right?
You have elaborated this in a pretty, simple way for everyone. And I think let's go ahead, and I would like you to give a very, nice message to people who are looking for such solutions for those suffering from obesity. What will be your message for them today?
The first thing is stop eating packaged foods.
With
Do
package, you mean even packaged grains and packaged groceries and everything?
Yeah, so I mean, all the if you are, for instance, obviously everywhere you can't get the open grains, right? So
Loose
you
grains,
could
loose,
lose grains, yeah. So
yeah.
you could buy grains, at least millets in a package form, right? Do read the labels. Do see if there is no artificial sweeteners, emulsifiers, right? Uh, if you're taking, for instance, dark chocolates, right? If you're taking dark chocolates do have emulsifiers, so do look at it. It has high sugar, do look at it, right? All the cookies and all these snacking
Snacks.
options, right, are really 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 harmful, right? Try to eat a lot of green vegetables.
I think you should also say that no snack is actually healthy. Everything which is packaged is not really healthy at all.
Yeah,
They say
so
healthy snacks, but it's not healthy actually.
see, anything which is made in farm is healthy. Anything which is made in factory is bad. In
Actually.
simple terms, right? So, so again, that is one aspect. So there is called universal unhealthy diet. So do not buy this. If you want to have sugar, have it through natural means such as fruits, right? You could. So for instance, banana is the best thing. People say banana increases your spike, it makes you develop diabetes, it makes you get it. No, banana has a lot of beneficial things, beneficial molecules like magnesium, right? It has natural sugar, so you could consume it. Obviously, you need to understand whether the banana spikes your sugar level vis-a-vis other foods. Again, like the second thing, you have to understand your biology, how your microbiome, gut and oral microbiome reacts to each of the food, right? Each of the food substrates, right? So you cannot assume some influencer or some company saying or some nutrition saying, eat this, eat that, you it whether whether it is healthy for your biology right now, right? So it's your biology evolving. What is good for you right now may not be good after 3 months, after 6 months, right? Or is bad maybe good after 3 months. It all depends upon the functions, grounds, and functions of your microbiome, what genes they are expressing, what you are feeding them, right? So these are two important things which you should consider, right? Third thing is obviously fix your biology, understand your biological functions, and do not assume that GLP-1 drug, if you are suffering from obesity, is something you have to take for your life, right? It has multiple collateral damages, right? Which you have to understand. I will share all the research papers around it, right? So that you have all the substantiate information or claims, right? By these validated research, right? So I think that's something which I want to mention before we close the call.
Thank you, Sushant. These were some really, really useful facts that you mentioned about GLP-1, and for good some good very good tips for the people with obesity, right? So I think let us conclude this talk here. Any last words would you like to add?
Yeah, so few things are non-negotiable. Sleep, do not take stress, eat a lot of green vegetables to start with, but understand which one is beneficial for you depends upon what you eat. Do not consider, protein as your friend. Do not consider carbohydrate as your enemy. Because what I mean by carbohydrate is not eating processed foods, not eating sugary stuff, but eating microbiome accessible carbohydrates. So the carbohydrates which have a lot of fiber and polyphenols, right? So in my world, the carbohydrates is like it means a lot of these fibers and antioxidants, polyphenol and erythritol and flavonoids and a lot of these things, right? Yeah,
So I think,
and yeah,
yeah, you've mentioned all the molecules that one should actually consume through their diet,
food.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So thank you, Sushant, for an amazing discussion today. And on this World Obesity Day, we hope that although this video, this podcast, it reaches out to maximum people who are suffering from obesity, and we wish that they do their proper research before signing up for any such solutions, right? So thank you everyone for listening to this talk, and we are available on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Do listen to us. Thank you. Stay tuned.
Thank you. Thank you.